It began when the city's lights died one stormy evening and a yellow-stained envelope slid under his door. The envelope offered no sender's name, but carried a single sheet of brittle paper on which an address was scrawled in ink that had long since turned to dust. The address belonged to the old Crestwood Asylum, abandoned 50 years ago after a fire broke out in its west wing. Rumors said the fire never truly consumed the building's darker corners, that some patients and staff never escaped into the light. He felt a pulse of curiosity, a gravitational pull that drew him from his apartment into the gathering storm. He reached Crestwood Asylum just before midnight. The wind tore at his jacket, and rain pelted his face like icy needles. The asylum's facade loomed out of the darkness, tall brick towers crowned with broken windows, blackened by time. Ivy crawled up stone walls, choking them. The front gate hung open, its hinges rusted and shrieking with every gust. He slipped inside through a gap in the fence and stopped in the courtyard, where dead roses lay tangled in rusted wheelchairs. Thunder shook the sky and the building seemed to shudder in response. Inside, the smell hit him first. Rot, mildew, and something coppery like old blood. His flashlight beam cut through the gloom, illuminating desks overturned in the reception hall and a low water line on the walls marking decades of floods. He pressed forward, boots echoing on cracked tiles. A grand staircase curved upward into darkness. Faded signs pointed toward the west wing, toward the fire's origin. Each step up felt heavier, as if unseen hands weighed on his shoulders. At the top of the stairs, the main corridor stretched out like the skeleton of a giant beast. Doors lined either side, their nameplates peeled away. He passed room after room, wards with iron beds half buried in debris, wheelchairs coated in dust, graffiti scrawled in what looked like dried blood. The air shifted as he moved deeper, growing colder, the beam of his flashlight trembling in his hand. Halfway down the corridor, the beam caught something low on the floor, a single shoe, child-sized leather cracked and scuffed. He knelt and touched it, expecting cold metal or stone, but instead felt something warm, like a slow pulse. The shoe throbbed faintly against his fingertips before going still. He jerked his hand back, heart pounding, and hurried on, telling himself it was imagination fueled by rain and wind. At the end of the hall, double doors bore the sign, "West Wing, Staff Only." They hung open, revealing a staircase descending into a deeper darkness. He hesitated, then moved down into the bowels of the building. The steps ended at a heavy door marked Basement Laboratory. He pushed it aside, and a gust of fetid air escaped. Inside the lab, rows of metal tables stood like graves. Rusted instruments lay scattered, and shards of broken glass crunched underfoot. In one corner, a gas mask lay cracked open, its lenses gone. Along the far wall, stained notes in faded ink documented experiments on patients, treatments for insomnia, methods to numb pain, tests to see how many days a person could survive without sleep. A chill ran through him. He stepped further in and found a wall of file cabinets, their drawers ajar and papers strewn across the floor. He flicked through the files by flashlight, names long forgotten, dates stamped in 1932, 1947, 1955. Each patient listed as discharged or deceased, but one file bore no stamp, its pages blank except for a name, Elias Crow. No birth date, no diagnosis, no notes. Behind the file cabinet, the wall was warped and blackened as if burned. but no charred smell remained. Something scraped in the darkness beyond, low and metallic. He spun around, flashlight beams slicing across a corridor leading further into the unknown. The scrape came again, closer, echoing like fingernails against metal. He swallowed hard and moved back past the tables, each one marked with a number and a faint smear of something dark. The scrape became a slow drag, moving toward him from the far corner of the room. He found the lab's emergency exit, a narrow door with a broken lock, and yanked it open. Lightning flashed, illuminating a steep ramp descending into blackness. He stepped onto the ramp, and the earth seemed to shift beneath him. A distant echo reached his ears, a slow thumping like a heartbeat. He paused, breath visible in the cold air. The ramp ended in a long vault-like tunnel, its walls lined with pipes and cables. Water dripped from the ceiling in steady rhythm. The thumping grew louder, vibrating through his chest. He shone his flashlight ahead and saw a door bearing no label, its metal surface pitted and scarred. From behind the door came a low hum, like a machine running on borrowed life. He placed a hand on the door handle, and a jolt raced up his arm. The hum intensified, and he recognized it as a voice, soft, steady, chanting words he could not understand. The handle turned easily, and the door swung open with a groan. Inside lay a massive chamber. In its center stood an iron frame, wires snaking from its corners to shafts in the ceiling. Beneath it, a shallow pool of water reflected the flashlight's beam, rippling with each breath he took. On the far wall, a projector flickered to life, casting a flickering image of the asylum's day rooms, empty children's toys, bathtubs, peeling wallpaper. The projector's reel spun backward, stopping each time on a frame of a gaunt man strapped to the iron frame, eyes wide with terror. He stepped forward, drawn by a need he could not name. The projector clicked again, showing a second image. The same man, head bowed, limbs slack. The wires glowed as if alive, pulsing with each flicker. A slow hum built to a roar. The water in the pool began to churn, as though something beneath fought to emerge. A wind gusted from the tunnel behind him, carrying whispers that rose and fell like waves. He could not make out the words but felt their meaning. You shouldn't be here. They shouldn't have let you come. He stumbled backward, tripped over a cable, and fell hard against the pool's edge. The water splashed onto his boots, cold as ice. He scrambled to his feet as the projector's reel spun faster, the images blurring into a single frame. The man on the frame, wires burning, his eyes blazing with madness. The machine groaned and sparks flew, igniting droplets on the pool's surface. Flames licked the air, and the hum soared into a scream that rattled the walls. He bolted for the door, diving through just as the projector exploded in a shower of sparks. The tunnel behind him lit up with a phosphorescent glow as water and flame fused, pouring toward him in a wave of steam and ash. He ran, heart hammering, ears deaf to anything but his own ragged breath. He emerged back into the lab, the heavy door slamming shut behind him. The hum was gone, replaced by the distant crackle of fire and the drip of water on stone. He dashed up the ramp, out the exit door, and burst into the courtyard. Rain still fell, but no storm raged. The sky was empty and silent. Ahead, the asylum's facade glowed faintly from within, as if lit by hidden lanterns. Black smoke curled from broken windows where no fire should burn. He froze. Through the windows, he saw shapes moving, Figures in patient gowns drifting through darkened halls. Their faces were pale masks, eyes black and empty. They turned toward him, their mouths opened in silent screams. He spun and ran across the courtyard, ignoring the pain in his lungs. The gate stood ajar, mocking him with its silence. He crossed it and kept running down the street until Crestwood Asylum was nothing but a silhouette against the night. Behind him, lights blinked and died. The building shuddered and settled, as if taking a final breath. Then the facade went dark, and the storm returned. He did not stop until he reached his apartment, dripping wet and shaking. He bolted the door, leaned against it, and closed his eyes. In the silence, he heard a faint drip, 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 like water leaking from a broken pipe. He yanked open the envelope on his desk. Inside was a single word, written in the same dust-brown ink. Next. He stared at the word until the light flickered and died. Come to the channel. The full horror awaits.